Hello everyone and welcome to a very nice game from round 1 of the second FIDE Grand Prix tournament this year, played in Riga, Latvia. It's Maxime Vachier Lagrave with the white pieces against David Navara. It's a very exciting game. We do not have a photo of the players playing this game, but that's not Nicky's fault, that's the fault of the players, which you will see a while later. We do have a couple of other nice photos, so here we can check out the photo of the playing venue. There you have it, also compliments of Nicky Riga. So let's just enjoy that for a second. Navara at the board, Maxime not to be found anywhere. Maybe that's him looking at 11, but no, I think that's maybe Daniel Dubov, yeah, standing over there. No, it's not Dubov playing against Mamedyarov. So it's hard to say where Maxime is. If any of you can spot him, you know, do help out in the comment section. So that being said, let's check out this very nice game. Maxime has the white pieces and he opens with e4. We have c6 by Navara, the Caro Kann defense, knight to f3, we have d5, and now knight to c3. Where you're asking black if you want to advance the pawn to d4, but you don't want to do this because after knight to e2, it's going to be very hard to defend this pawn. You can play e5, and if you play c5, then white will just attack the center with his c-pawn, and white will just have a very nice game here. So bishop to g4, this is the main move in this position. Navara goes for it with h3, asking, do you want to go back, do you want to capture on f3? This is the line black plays in this variation, so he will give up the bishop pair early, and now knight to f6, putting pressure on the e4 pawn. We have bishop to e2, and now e6, preparing to develop the dark square bishop, and then castle. We have castles by Maxime, and now bishop to c5. We have rook to d1, preparing d4, and even though this position has been reached before, there is only one move that is always played here, and that's bishop to d4. It's a move that serves, well, you don't want to allow white to push d4. For example, if you just castle, if you don't want to waste time, then d4 will be very strong for white. For example, pawn captures, knight captures, bishop back to e7 as the bishop is attacked on c5, and now you can just trade here, play queen to g4 with the queen and rook now guarding this pawn here, and it will be just a very nice position for white. Still having the bishop pair, you know, the position basically plays itself. So only one position for black here, one move for black here, bishop to d4. And here we have queen to f4. Now, there is only one game where queen to f4 was played here. You can play something like d3, you can play queen g3 right away. But Maxime goes for queen to f4, and it has been played only once before in the game Etienne Bacrot versus Robert Zelčić in last year in 2018 in Zagreb in the Tournament of Peace. That was once again started after many years of inactivity. And Etienne Bacrot won a very nice game there against Zelčić. The game continued e5, same as this game, pushing the queen back to g3, attacking the g7 pawn, and here we had castles by Robert Zelčić, but here e captures on d4. So Navara plays a new move, and now Maxime has to decide what to do here. Now, what will you do? Well, obviously, do you want to capture on g7? Seems like you don't want to capture on g7. Your king is already castled here. Rook g8 is coming. Maybe it would be giving black a bit too much activity for the price of one pawn. But Maxime had everything prepared here. He played d3, so he willingly sacrifices a pawn. We have e captures on d3, bishop captures on d3, and now again Navara. Not sure if he had it analyzed at home up until this point, but he played knight bd7, and now he asks Maxime, do you want to capture on g7? And here Maxime, after thinking for a while, decided to play knight to e2, which is not the best idea. I mean, the best idea is to actually capture the g7 pawn, but it's no human would play this, because after queen captures, of course, it will be met with rook to g8, and after queen to h6, black will probably go queen e7, preparing to castle queenside, perhaps double rooks on the g file, and create an attack against the white king. But here you don't really have a chance to do this, because white has bishop to f5 here, a very hard move to find, because now if black continues with something like queenside castle, black is lost. Black is lost because bishop to g5, and you don't have a good way to defend the knight here. You can just capture it as this knight is pinned here, so perhaps black can unpin, king c7, but then knight to e4, and now the knight is attacked 3 times. You do not have sufficient means of defending this position. You will have to give up the exchange, rook captures, queen captures, but it is no compensation for basically the only thing you have in exchange for so much sacrifice material is the semi-open g file, which is not all that much in this position, well, it would seem. So knight bd7, a really big bluff by David Navara, or maybe both of them just agreed that capturing on g7 was out of the question. I mean, who would actually capture there? So continuing knight to e2. Okay, you want to capture the bishop here, open up the e file, maybe harass the black king for a bit, but here Navara castles kingside. So what could have been a really insane game with black castling queenside, we now have castling kingside, and it's not a problem. First, bishop to f5. Now, of course, the rook is eyeing that queen on d8. At some point, you want to play c3, you know, create some tactics to work in your favor. So knight to c5. And here, what do you do? It seems like the bishop is now trapped. Well, it's not really, because after c3, the rooks are not connected. You can play bishop captures, and then whatever captures, you will just lose the rook on d1. So first, Maxime has to connect rooks. Bishop to h6, an excellent way to connect rooks. Now you're threatening checkmate, but also there's the threat of c3. So what can Navara do here? Here, Navara, the best idea for black here is knight to e6. And now you can meet c3 with knight to h5. Just attack the queen, and after the queen moves, now you can capture on g6, c captures on d4, and you will play queen g5, just unpinning. And of course, white is still better, but the game continues. However, Navara here played knight to h5 immediately without the previous knight to e6. He attacked the queen with queen to g4, and here Navara played queen to d6, and it seems like, okay, I don't have a problem with this. If you play something like c3, I can always capture your bishop here, and it's you know, everything works in my favor. But feel free to pause the video here and try to find what Navara missed in this position, as it's well, it's quite strange. I'll give you a couple of seconds. For those of you who played c3 here, you should really work on your tactics. Although c3 seems like a very nice idea, it doesn't work because, again, bishop captures on f2. With check, you just grab a pawn. King captures, and now queen captures on h6, just, you know, grabs the bishop. There's no threat of checkmate. The queen also now guards the knight on h5, and white really doesn't have anything here. It's now white who's basically lost. So, for those of you who found queen captures on h5 here, then congratulations, you do not need to work on your tactics. Well, everyone always needs to work on their tactics, but not as much as those who played pawn to c3. Because now there's nothing to do here. Navara continued, queen captures on h6, we have queen captures on h6, g captures on h6, and now only after all is said and done, c3. And it was in this position that David Navara resigned the game, as there is nothing more to do here. The bishop is trapped, and well, you can give it up for one pawn, but that's no compensation at all. Captures, and it is unplayable. I mean, it's a clean bishop. White is up a piece, and that's just no way to play chess. So really amazing. 2700 plus player blundering a piece on move 16. Not seen very often, especially in a classical event, since the Grand Prix is a classical event. Unless 2 classical games are drawn, then we go into rapids. Then if the rapids are drawn, we go into blitz, and in the end Armageddon. The same way we had it in the Moscow Grand Prix that we covered a few months ago. So yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. That's why we don't have any nice photo of the players, because the game just ended too quickly. And well, at some photos that you know, I did see of their table, either Navara was missing or Maxime was missing, like the one we saw of the playing venue. But you know, there are a lot more rounds, so more photos to come, and we're gonna enjoy that as well. So yeah, once again, I do hope you enjoyed it, and Navara most likely didn't. I would like to thank Tim O'Connor, Lawrence Morris, Hagar Afriat, Jack Bancroft, and Marco Morocolo for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing the coverage of the FIDE Grand Prix in Riga, Latvia. Of course, continuing the Capablanca saga and checking up on your suggestions. Thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your Saturday.